good week last week. Beat Arkansas Little Rock in the first conference game in overtime, and then we were able to come back home, play well against Troy offensively, shoot the ball, play good enough defense to have a run in the second half to stretch that game out, and then go to Appalachian State, our first trip to Boone, and it was a pretty painless trip. Travel all the way through, and played a really good first half, so we were able to come out on top. Played well there. Bryce Washington played really well in that game. Did a lot of different things to help us win. Jay Wright also played very well in the game on Saturday versus Troy. So we've had a different guy step up every night and answer the call. We've got a game tomorrow night against Georgia State, and then we'll have the weekend off. And then preparation start for Georgia Southern starting on Sunday.
As conference goes on, does this feel like a different game, just given the circumstances with the way last year ended for them?
Which game? Appalachian State or?
Oh, for Georgia State. Getting ready for this game, just the preparation, is there a bit more to it just because of y'all's matchups last year?
No, not on our end. It's the next game. It's a home game. We're pretty good at home. And we need to take care of business and protect our home court. So the only significance is they'll make one trip to Lafayette. We'll make one trip to Atlanta. And you make the most of every opportunity.
Why do you think, though, that matchup seems to have developed into a little bit of a rivalry, that it has as quickly as it has? It's just because of the quality of two teams?
Well, they came back and beat us last year to the game, and then their player was Player of the Year over our player, Albert Payton, 10th pick in the draft. We went there, and their crowd was very hostile to us when we went to Georgia. And in the game in New Orleans, we played well early. They played well in the middle. They weren't able to hang on to the lead. We came back and won the game in overtime, obviously. So we played a couple times and played in some high-stakes games. In this game, I think we've got the most wins in the league, both teams. So hopefully we get another good college basketball game.
Do you a game that seems like, and nothing may happen the whole game, but has a potential to maybe be a little chippier than a lot of some other matchups? Do you talk to your players about that going in, or do you just ignore that whole?
No, they understand. They know what happened last year. They know the sequence of events in the game and after the game and post game. They understand what happened. Our guys do, and they'll be ready to play.
Coach, do you think a game like this maybe could break out Xavier Rimmer out of the slumps he's had?
Well, actually, he's shooting the ball pretty well. I think the last 7 for his last 18 for 3. So he's done a good job shooting the ball recently. We'd like for him to make some shots. He did against them in the championship game yesterday. Had a big game for us. He probably don't win if he doesn't make those 3 big shots. And he could get the same number of opportunities.
What is it that Bryce does that's allowed him to contribute so early?
Maturity. We needed to recruit him as a sophomore that he had it. He's got the body. And the other night, after the game, my son called me on the way back to Charlotte, and he said, "Who played well?" I said, "Bryce played well." And he said, "What did he do?" I said, "Well, we can count the ways. He scored, he rebounded, he blocked shots, he stole passes, he defended, he led, and then he changed the game on both ends of the floor."
Coach, I know Hunter's obviously a very tough matchup for anybody, but it seems like this year with Wright and Shepard both playing together in the back, that you match up pretty well with Harrell and Ware from a quickness standpoint. So is that kind of the way you guys look at it? You match up pretty well there?
I think so. Hunter plays the 3. He doesn't play the 2. They say backcourt, but yet they've got 3 guards. And he plays on the bottom of the 2-3 zone on the defensive end of the court. Of course, we'll see zone for 40 minutes. That's the way they play. But their team is different, and I think it's different for their player because of the 2,000-point scores they lost on Devontae White and Manny Atkins. And we thought Manny Atkins was the best player. And he's the one that beat the 3 that beat us up there. He was a Virginia Tech transfer. We lost 2 1,000-point scores too in Brian Baum and Elton Payton. And we've got a lot of newcomers. So I think there's some time adjusting, and that's one thing that has affected their play. Harrell scored the ball pretty consistently. has not shot the ball very well as of recent games.
What's different about them without Atkins there? He kind of seemed like the glue guy. How do you think he's fit in, just from looking at them? What's the difference in this year's team with Ware and last year's with Atkins?
Ware doesn't handle the ball, score the ball quite like Devontae White, for one. He's bigger. He's a great athlete. He's still got tremendous speed. So I never saw him play a lot before he was injured. And he played against us last year in Louisville. I think that may have been his first game back. He played about 9 minutes right before he transferred. But it's hard to determine how different they play as far as Harrow and what they had last year. You know, Atkins, they play Crider some at the 4. They play different guys at that position, but they don't shoot the ball from the perimeter. Atkins was a really good stretch for me.
Bob, going back to UL basketball history, quickly Georgia State has become a pretty good rival. It almost reminds an old fan of the days of UNO when Tim Floyd came in with Erwin Johnson, and it's got some similarities. This is going to be a good showdown tomorrow night.
Is that because Coach Floyd was on the court a lot? One of the similarities, that's what I was told.
That's one of them.
If you guys remember, in this room last year, at the beginning of the season, I was quoted as saying, Georgia State will be a player in this league from day one, just like Georgia Southern and App did in football. These two teams would come in from day one and be a factor, and they were last year. They had a great start to the season. They played well together. Coach did a good job with them. They gained momentum, and they had a great run in conference play. They won a couple of games that were close. Thank goodness they didn't win the last one. It was close. But to go 19-1 or do what they did last year was not going to happen. You can tell that early in the season. There's too much parity and balance in our league. And Georgia Southern's off to a great start also. Speaking of that, App won their first game ever in conference play at Jonesboro. We all know how hard that is to do. But by them coming in last year and being effective from the start, that's helped escalate these games.
Do you mention to the referees before the game to keep Ron off the floor?
No, I'm not concerned with that. I'm more concerned with our guys and what we do. As long as he can contest some shots sometimes, as long as you don't foul one of our shooters.
You've played 3 games against teams that like to get it in the half court. And then you're going to play a team now that's a little bit more, try to get it into transition just a little bit. Is it hard to adjust after playing several games like that?
I hope not. We don't plan on it being. We're prepared every time. That's your opponent's option. If they want to push the ball hard or if they want to walk it up the floor, so you have to be ready to stop the fast break. We tell our guys we want to push till they stop us. If they don't stop us, then that's on them. And then we have to execute in half court. But this game, they'll push, but this game will be slowed down somewhat because they're going to sit in the zone for 40 minutes. They should slow down the pace to a degree.
You think this year's team is better equipped to handle that, just with how tough it was for Alfred to get through that at times last year, the zone defense?
No, I don't think it was Alfred getting through it. He's pretty good at getting through defenses. But their zone was effective last year. Yes, it was hard at times. We feel like we solved it and saw some things that we can exploit them with. We certainly got 20 rebounds in the championship game, offensive rebounds, including a big one. When Alfred missed a layup, and Sean got it and dropped up and assisted bomb. So we know that offense rebounds is something that we can't hurt them with, hopefully, again. And we'll just try to get good shots, move the ball. We're a good passing team. I think we're a better passing team overall than we were a year ago. We relied a lot on Alfred to initiate the offense.
Do you anticipate trading off a lot on Hunter, or just telling him to have at it, or does it just depend on the flow?
It'll depend on the flow. Brian's done a good job the last couple of games, certainly on Aleem, and then he did a good job on the Eves up at Appalachian State. So Hunter poses some different problems, and we'll see how the game flows and how that matchup will continue. But Brian will be the first opportunity in that. I think another key in this basketball game is going to be turnovers. They do a good job of taking care of the ball. most part. And we started off the year turning the ball over a lot, and we've gotten better and better at that. We're averaging 11.5, I believe, in conference play. That's playing good enough. So if we'll take good care of the ball and make sure we get enough opportunities, that will certainly help in this ball game.
Coach, what is, it's kind of been, what makes Casey such a good shooter? Is that a shot selection thing? Is that just the fact that he's just naturally good at it? His footwork?
Well, I hope it's that he's naturally good at it for the most part. We recruited a good shooter, maybe better.
Right.
And that's what we try to do. We saw that he could score, he had good speed, and we took him. And knew that he was a combo guard, he wasn't a true point guard. But we thought with a year or two with Alfred that would really help his game, and I think it has. I think that's beginning to show. If you take out the first 3 games where he didn't get the opportunity to play very much, then we went to Vegas, and after the Milwaukee game, we played him. Started him, I believe. He played very well, and shot and scored 20 plus points, maybe 22 points. He got his confidence back, and since that time, he's averaging maybe 17 a game. And in conference play, I'm not even sure what he's averaging in conference play, but it's all because he's attacking the basket. He knows when to attack the basket, and he's a good shooter that can make open three-point shots. And he's gotten better. His decision-making's gotten better, too. And he's getting better every night out. He and Jay, you go back to the Troy game, Casey's 7 for 11, Jay's 8 for 11. We take 15 to 22 from that group every night. But as I said the other day, we don't expect Jay to come out and give us that every night. First of all, he's not going to shoot 11 times. And we ask him to guard the ball, to initiate our offense, push the ball, and do other things, and score as needed. And both those 2 guys played well again at Appalachian State.
Casey's kept up this kind of insane clip of shooting 57, 58% most of the year. Is that something you can kind of expect from him now, that even though it's kind of hard for a guard to keep that?
Well, I expect it, yes. I mean, if I see something long enough, then I'm going to expect it. I'm going to demand that he does certain things to keep it up there. That's a good point. Look, for an off guard to shoot that high, it's really good. I mean, we got 4 starters that are shooting over 52%, I believe, from the floor. Jay Wright's the third is not. He's right at 40.
Coach Sean Long has pretty much matched his assist total from last year. Have you seen some things that you mentioned, guys meeting expectations or doing things that you visually expect from them? With Long and some other guys in the front court, with their passing, have they maybe even improved on some areas this year compared to last year?
Yes, he has improved decision-making and not forcing the ball out of a double team. And he's been double teamed quite often. He's deferred. We have a good interior passing team. We had a great exchange the other night. Sean got double, gave it to Bryce, who was cutting down the lane like he's supposed to, and he gave it to Brian on a touch pass for an and one in the first half against App. So our interior passing is better, Brian. I think that goes back to the question earlier about that. That's something that can help us in this game. Better passing team than we were a year ago. And we have another scorer on the floor than we had last year also.
Does it make any difference the way they're coming into this one with the loss against Texas State at home, double OT? Hunter was 0 for 10 from behind the arc. Does that make a difference, make it more dangerous maybe?
No, I don't know. I mean, that's on them. I don't like to comment about other people's teams. I don't know what they're going through. I do know they've had a lot of technical fouls this year. If you look at the boxes, I don't know the reason for all that. But it was a tough loss for them. Game that they didn't play great and could have won. I think the score was 19-17 at halftime. But they weren't able to hang on and win that game. So we'll see how they respond. I'm sure we'll get their best shot regardless.
Bob, besides this game tomorrow being a war, how would you best describe the Georgia State matchup overall? Or a Cajun fan to be watching?
Just 2 good teams going at it. Again, we won the most games in the league. I think both of us had 9 victories. And a little bit ahead of the pack there by a game. And up the top of the standings and played for the championship last year. Maybe we can do it again this year. You'll have to wait to see. But player of the year coming in, a guy that started at Kentucky, North Carolina State, good player in Harrow. So they've had some success. And we need a big crowd to come out, for sure. We want to encourage our fans to come out. We had a great crowd for Troy on a Saturday night without classes in session. And heavy rains that day. We look forward to a good crowd tomorrow night. It certainly makes a difference with us. We've been very good at home. We keep our home court protected the best we can, and our fans make a big difference. We'll get plenty of love when we go to downtown Atlanta. I can promise you that in 2 weeks.
How much do you think what happened in overtime Rock kind of positively impacted you guys in the last two?
A lot. You were there, Tim. You know, you saw it. We had the game won in regulation, and a couple of calls that weren't made, a couple of calls that were made. We had a couple of shots in and out, a couple of good plays by them. Next thing you know, we're down, and 14 to down. And we could have won that game like we won the App State game. We had one more shot. It's 17 instead of 11. It was about 8 minutes to go, 10 minutes to go. That game's probably over. But once it got to that stage, it was important for us to be resilient and persevere winning that basketball game. And it did. It gave us a shot in the arm. And I thought it was Sean. His leadership was key in that. Of course, Bryce and Jonathan stepped up as freshmen, as you guys know.
Speaking of Sean's leadership, how important has his passing into paint become to your offensive flow?
It's very important. As we mentioned earlier, he gets double teamed quite a bit, and he's going to have to pass it out. We love to shoot the three off an inside out action or an offensive rebound. So Sean's a good passer. He always has been. He tries to get too cute sometimes and make the home run pass instead of making the fundamental play. But he's gotten better and done a really good job. He and Bryce and Devontae have all done a good job of sharing the basketball. A lot of times to each other.
Have those younger guys like Bryce that don't have the game experience of Sean, have they kind of pleasantly surprised you with their passing ability?
Bryce has passed the ball exactly like we thought he could. I mean, it's almost scary. I hate to bring it up, but we knew that he was an excellent passer and that he could affect the game without scoring. He had 12 at the half in Boone, which is somewhat uncharacteristic of him. But it's just the way the game flowed. But he can do a lot of things, and passing's one of them. He's a point forward. He can really handle it. He understands. He brought the ball up before he was Auburn for us. And former beat writer, Sam Houston State, friend of mine, lives in Alabama, was at the game. And he said, I really like your 6'7" freshman point guard. And I said, well, he's not a point, but we will let him bring the ball up. So.
Shooter in Sunbelt right now, leading three-point shooter in Sunbelt right now, too.
2 for 2.
3 for 3.
Does that help when teams trap you because you have bigger guys that can kind of handle the ball and also see over the trap and they're not afraid to give it up to somebody else?
Yes, absolutely. Right. If you got a team that's pressing you, and you can throw it back to the four-man. A lot of bigs that inbound the ball don't dribble. Their coaches won't let them dribble. And we've always let our guys bring it up. I think that takes a lot of pressure off of our point guard and wear and tear. So it's a big plus for us. Yeah, Bryce hit the one against Milwaukee, and he's made 2 in conference. So off to a good start. And we've been working hard on this shot. JJ actually shot one at Boone. It was short.
Anything else, guys?
You said before the UALR game that you wanted you guys to take more shots from 3. Does that kind of progress the way you wanted it to in these 3 conference games?
Yes. I don't think we made a lot against Troy. Did we make 4? I don't remember exactly, but I think we made 7 the other night against that. But we want to shoot some. Yeah, we shoot a good percentage. And we need to get more attempts up. We were next to last in the league in attempts. And if you shoot a good percentage, then that's my fault for not recognizing that and getting more attempts. So that's why we lean in that direction. Now, that being said, Luke, we don't want to turn it into a 3-point contest either. We've got the best inside scorer in the league. One of the best in the country, so we need to get the ball inside if we can. We can double, we definitely shoot and make the extra pass when it comes out.
anything else.
Thank you, guys.